Oh yeah, it's the old duffer again. I probably do look like an old duffer with woolly hat on, don't I? We bought a little diesel generator. It's 10 kilowatts, 12.5 kVA, 3-phase, done 39 hours from new. Perkins diesel, which looks suspiciously Japanese to me, but it says it's Perkins on the block, so we'll go with that. But something's happened to it. No great surprise there. I think something dropped on it. It was a standby set in a tyre bay, and it's the air filter was missing, and the air filter housing is damaged, not beyond repair, and the low oil pressure shutdown has been bypassed because they broke the terminal off. That should be on there, so we're going to try and solder a wire on there, because obviously it sees no oil pressure, so the shutdown unit just switches it off. And why they haven't got the air filter, heaven only knows. But this is one for this model, but there's obviously several different housings, and this is not quite right for this house. The right length, but it didn't have a hole in the end like it has now. And this is damaged anyway, so we've got to repair it. So basically, rather than going through the mill, and the people who are supplying the filters for us are doing a grand job trying to sort them all out, but this is proving a bit of an arse. And I thought, you know what, well that'll work, because it's for that engine. So basically I'm going to extend the stud. This is a couple of big washers I had. One, I welded up the hole and tapped it, so it can sit in there, go up behind the back of the air filter. This one will go on the front. Obviously that cut to the right length. Well, look at that, nice section. That's a knock nut as well, by the way. On there, and hold it all in place, and then put his hat on. But we need to take this off to do a few repairs first, because obviously we want to use this if we have power cuts, and it's going into an acoustic canopy we're going to make for it and stick it on the side of the RL when we get there, because he would have had a generator of some sort back in the day when it was a bomb squad truck. So you know, we're quite lucky to pick this up with such low hours on it, considering it's a 1990 power unit. I reckon it's a 1990 because the alternator is dated 88, and these didn't come out till early 90s, so it is probably a 1990 unit. And a lot of people have said to me over the years, because I used to build generators for a living, can you generate electricity running a diesel generator cheaper than you can buy it from your electricity supplier? Well, up till the current situation where we're being ripped off left, right and centre, no. Of course, if you're going to run on white diesel, which you can get from the pumps, £2 a litre-ish, it's probably not viable. But if you're running on red diesel, it may actually be just about viable. You've got to take into account the cost of the plant, obviously, and the cost of running it, maintenance, filters, all that kind of jazz. But it certainly would give you you're isolated from what's going on in the world, as long as you can get hold of fuel, which is the next big headache, isn't it? The powers that be would like us all cycling everywhere and putting thick coats on when it's minus 25 outside and all that jazz. So having diesel for one's generator is probably a no-no in due course. Certainly for an individual. That, there we go. Yeah, see, that's got a bit mangled, and there's a bit missing off of that, and it's all a bit yuck. So, and that clearly didn't come out of the factory that way. So we need to adjust that with a larger hammer. Yeah, it's just really odd, isn't it? And that's got damage like that. I mean, I could take it off and throw it away. It won't make a hoot's worth of difference, but we'll try and sort it out. Right, over to the hello, your microphones fell off. Marvellous. To the welding bench. Let's hack it about and see what we can come up with. Right. You know, I'm probably going to want the TIG set for that. But yeah, that is needs to be a wee bit longer. So take that on, put it over that. I'm not going to cut a piece of this, weld it on and then cut a piece off the end. That's just kind of stupid because it's wasteful. I will cut that stud off that's in there and weld this whole thing in there and then work out my length and then cut it off. Do it that way around. So first things first, I'll just weld that up, because you do look at things sometimes and think, how on earth did they manage that? But there you go, people never cease to amaze me. So that's supposed to be there. Right, we need the TIG set for that, so we'll turn the MIG set off. Turn it over on. Want some gas. Now unfortunately now, because I am falling apart, I have to wear different glasses for welding now. And the trouble is I can't see a blasted thing with them unless I'm welding. Right. Abracadabra. Oh no, that's way too much. We'll try it down there and see if we don't blow it to pieces. The weld wire. And a top of the range Lidl's welding mask, which actually works really, really well. My only criticism is that they don't power down if they're not in use, so they run the batteries flat. So you have to put the batteries out when you're not using them. You know, slight oversight there, I think. That's not going to earth out. Even that's bent. Sorry if that was a bit loud. Put my other glasses on and let's give it a go. Oh no, wrong tungsten. You can weld an elephant together with that one. Right, let's just change to a smaller tungsten. If you have too big a tungsten in at low current, you will find that they won't arc up very well, and they sort of spit and fart and do things you don't need them to do. So we need to change that to one of those. Right, that one is out. And they are all marked, so you should put all the right bits together. Right then, let's see what we get. Idiot boy, need to wind that out because I've got that on. Right. I want to see if I can tack this back together. I can't work out why it's got broke like it did. I don't. I'm not going to be able to hold that in the right place. This is where you need 3 pairs of hands. Let's build a bit of wire up. Marvellous. Right, I'll just weld this up. That's better. There you go. You see that? Famous saying, don't grab the hot bit, which I probably will because I normally do. That's what I mean. Change glasses. Right. I don't need that stud in there because it's the wrong size, so we'll. Right, now before someone puts in the comments, oh, you'll put carborundum in your engine, do you really think I'm not going to clean this out before we actually run the engine up with it all plumbed in? Right, need a bit more loud. Here we go, let's have a bit more. Ooh, that'll do. Change my glasses again. See, I have all the qualifications to be, and I'll get. Haha! Right. Need to just tack that on there and on that. Yeah, got enough welly. Need a bit more. Right, let's get tack on the other side before we end up with a leaning Tower of Pisa. Marvellous. Right. Change the glasses again. Right, there you go. That's pretty good actually. Yeah. Oops. We are going to repaint all this, so you know, hence I'm not worried about getting carborundum in it right now. But wow, that did get knocked about. How on earth did they manage that? Oh, that's better up. And this is a point where I could do with a welder's third hand, which I've never made. I've never bothered to make myself one, but right now would be blooming handy. We will see what we can conjure up. Yeah. Right. Let's turn the volume down a bit. Change the glasses again. And I'm just going to see if I can tack this back together roughly in the right place. Right, need some more litter. Right, let's see if we can get a few more tacks on it. Get that logged it for now. Right, I'm not going to video all the welding because, you know, it's done one weld, done them all. So we'll come back to this once I've welded it all together and we're finishing off the job. Right, done all the welding, you know, tidied it up. So this is Dave's special paint oven. It's a modified filing cabinet with some infrared heat lamps that you get on a farm for, you know, chicks and baby pigs and that, keep them warm. Works a treat. This is all bits of air tanks support. But this time of year in the UK, you can't paint anything because it's cold, wet, damp and horrible. So this is how we warm all the material up, and we warm the paint up too, because if you don't, it doesn't paint. This is X primer, and basically I've scratched it up with a bit of Scotch-Brite just to key it up, that's all. I don't know what grade that is, it's what I had, so that's what we're going to use. So we'll now shake this up and give it a bit of primer. I'm only painting it because if I don't, it'll go rusty. And it seems a bit pointless. It's in pretty good shape. Now we've repaired it. Let's tidy it up a bit. So we'll give it a quick paint, bit of X primer, and then we'll give some satin black. I'm not painting the top out for it. I don't see the point because it's black anyway. So let's see what this is going to come out like. Oh, that's not too bad. Literally, you know, it's 30 years old and done quite well really, so we can stop the friendly metal moth getting hold of it and turning it to rust. We should be alright. I know someone's going to moan I'm not wearing a respirator. Well, if I was painting the cab of the lorry, which I will be in due course, I will put a respirator on because there's going to be a hell of a lot of paint in the atmosphere. But this literally is a little squirt like that. And as long as you cover it, that looks pretty good. Get it even as best you can, you know, don't get emotional, it's a bit plant. Stick it in here. And that will be dry in a few minutes and we can put the other coat on. And this is exactly the same. I've just literally degreased it and scratched it up a bit. And it's just purely to stop things going rusty. And we'll leave that to oven bake. We'll come back in a minute. Right, painted it all. You saw me do the primer. It was all painted, finished, put back on. The longer filter, which is about 15mm longer, fits perfectly. And that's the only mod we made to that filter housing, is extending that stud. So that if we do work out what the correct filter was, we can still fit it, but we can use the longer one that we've been supplied. Unfortunately, the induction hose is starting to split, so we're going to have to make this up out of silicone piece hoses, and I'll put some stainless solid between the two. Then we won't have that problem. I'm still going to straighten that out. It runs lovely. I did wire up the oil sender unit to see if that would work. I did solder a wire on and connect it into the system. And it doesn't, the oil pressure gauge reads absolute garbage. We have 80 PSI when it's not running. So I think there's something wrong with that, don't you? So we need to look at that. We might have to go over to a different control system, either use Murphy gauges, which have little pointers, so you can set the minimum oil pressure it's safe to run at, and as soon as the pressure drops and hits the tab, it cuts the motor. And the same with the high engine temperature. Very, very simple system with a few relays. Works really, really well. So we can go down that road, or we could get I could fit a more modern generator control unit, but we'll get back to that. It's just as you can see, somebody put a 3-point linkage assembly on here. We'll try to. We will adjust that with the plasma and remove that because we don't need that on there. That will tidy it up. The exhaust has got to go. We've got 4 positions we can have it, so it needs to go vertical. We'll get a gasket for that. And what I need to do, if I grab the oil filter that's incorrect, right, just need to grab an oil filter and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Basically, I like to put a pre-oiler system on these sort of things because they sit for months and months and months and months, and then suddenly this is a 3000 RPM engine. It goes from nothing to full chat in seconds. So getting the bearings coated with oil prior to that happening is a good idea. So what I need to do, I think you can see this in the camera. Can we see this all right? Basically, where that's flat on the engine, in and out, I need to make a plate that goes between this and the block, which allows me to put a feed in to the oil filter. So basically, I have an oil pump, electrical pump that sucks oil at the sump, comes around through my adapter into the filter and then around the block, and oils the engine for say 30 seconds prior to startup. You can build it into a little programmable control unit, or if you can hold a button down. We did on, if you look at my Perkins engines repair videos, there's one on there about the pre-oiler system. Again, they sit for months, never get used. So this would prolong the life of this engine that's done 38, 39 hours phenomenally, because it won't be starting with dry bearings. It'll have oil pressure on it, so the moment the engine turns, mechanical pump will then pick up, it's all primed, and it will carry on, and it makes a huge difference over the life of these motors. So that's the job, and I will machine that up in the machine shop. Once we've had the correct filter delivered, this one's too great a diameter, so we've got the right one coming, and that'll be a video on how to do that once I've worked out how to do it. I've done loads of them, so it's no big deal. So that will then sort this unit out. Somebody's bent the top cover of the back of the alternator. This is not got an AVR, also managed voltage regulator. This is a choke excitation unit. Basically, it's wound so it produces a base voltage, which is 400 volts, and the output from the windings goes through a choke, which is a transformer. When you pull power to run your appliances, you generate energy in the secondary winding, which goes via a bridge rectifier, from AC to DC, back into the field winding, and compensates for the energy you're drawing out of the alternator itself. Very, very crude, very, very reliable. A more modern machine would have an AVR, which is far greater control and gives you a slightly better waveform, which we may convert this to, which you can. I just need to work out which one we need. But again, I'll do some own work and come back to that. But yeah, so there you go. We're getting on with it, and we'll come back when we've done some more. Right, last bit, so we can actually use this. We had a couple of power cuts yesterday, only short ones, but you know, winter's here, so let's do it. Just want to cut this off. I bought I think it's a Reboot 500 50 amp plasma cutter from Amazon probably a year ago. 250 quid. The consumables is really cheap. That's something you really got to consider with plasma. But I've been so impressed with it. It'll cut 12 mil thick, solid, no problem at all. It might do a bit more, so it's all right for this job. One other thing I wanted to point out, because this is 3-phase and you can take a load off each phase, you can't take a huge load off one phase, you'll toast the machine. So to take a heavy load off of something like this, you need to use a 3-phase transformer, which uses all 3 phases down to single phase, so you can run an arc welder or something, a big compressor, and you utilise the whole machine and keep it balanced. So that's just something to think about. Because people say, oh, neutral and phase, I can just, neutral and one phase, shall I say, I can get 240 volts out of it. You can for light loads, but don't overdo it because you'll barbecue your alternator, and that's it, good night. So I'm just going to put me shades on glasses and slice this junk off. I've disconnected the battery because there's a little electronic regulator for the alternator on this. So yeah, I'm just going to carefully blast this apart with a bit of luck. You won't see a thing, but let's give it a go. looking at it. There's the other weld. There goes one. Right. That's that bit. Right. Let's hack this bit off. What earth is that? We've got to set that before we wander up. Right. I'll put that just right under there. Right. Let's see if that'll break off with a big hammer, because it's very close to the fuel tank, and I don't want to destroy that. I'll give it a sledgehammer. It might want a bit more chopping, but we only use this for fine tuning. Right, let's see what happens. Okay, it's stuck at the back still. They haven't welded it both sides, have they? Mongrels. Right. Let's see. Can't see where that's welded. I might do the other one. Right down there and right across there. And they welded out on the inside as well. Oh, heavens above, what did they do that for? Went to all that trouble and then made a chocolate A-frame. Yeah, did bloody well weld it. There we go. Now here's the gloves on that. Go and get some gloves. They welded it every which way you could possibly think of. And so then put a cheap bit of angle iron A-frame. I don't get that, but anyway, there you go. Obviously, plasma cutting is all very straightforward, so we'll come back to this when I finish burning myself. Right, took a bit longer than anticipated to get that lot off. They made a really good job of welding those big brackets on, but not the angle iron third point on the linkage. I had to put cover over it because I've had to sand all the snotty bits left over, to clean all that up. So put something over the whole unit to make sure I don't get any carburetor and bits of metal in the alternator or anywhere. You don't want it because it will wreak havoc, because remember it's magnetic. So it'll suck it in, and if you get enough debris between the rotating part and the static part, it'll tear itself to pieces, and that would be a really, real shame, because it's only done 38 hours. So, but there you go. So that is now usable. I put cables on it, so we can now put the battery back on, and we can actually use it as we had a few power cuts. Yeah, till the next one.